The Rothmans Liban Syrie, a tough desert rally, a 3,000-kilometre route. Tarmac roads switchbacking through mountains. 1,000 kilometres flat out through the dry, arid, boulder-strewn Syrian desert. Fixed control points, a tight schedule over the road sections where every minute counts, and 500 kilometres of special stages where drivers race against the clock, fighting for seconds. For the first time, the event is sponsored by Rothmans. Observers this year include Claude Le Guizec, Secretary-General of the World Governing Body of Motorsport, here to consider the Liban Syrie for inclusion in next year's prestigious World Rally Championship calendar. Beirut, seaport trading capital of the Middle East, where centuries-old architecture blends with modern hotels, where the ancient tradition of the street market survives alongside the modern shops. While Beirut went about its normal business, the drivers and mechanics prepared themselves in their cars for the grueling three-day event. Tougher than the Moroccan Desert Rally, says French ace Pio. More demanding than the East African Safari, says Flying Finn Mikola. It's 3,000 kilometres, 3 long days, 2 hard nights that face the 24 crews in different makes of car who have come from Finland, France, Italy and Kuwait to compete. Three times winner of the Monte Carlo, last year victor in the RAC, and fresh from his recent wins in the Finnish Thousand Lakes and the Arctic Rally, Timo Mäkinen and his co-driver Henry Little. What are their impressions of the event?
I think the most you must, in this kind of rally, you must have the experience, and you don't have to do it flat out or something like that. You have to be clever and you try to finish.
It is very rough. It's the sort of the unexpected hole in the road, the unexpected bump which is going to catch you out. If the faster the car you've got, then you're going to hit the bumps faster.
What does French ace Pio think of the route?
You know, to have all time the sun in my face or something like that. That is a big problem here. If you go out of the road, it's very difficult to take the the good way.
Last year's winner, local Renault driver Tony Georgiou and Gérard Sanard.
What do you think makes a successful rally driver?
The navigator. But he drives, but you know, in the desert, it's the navigator.
Rally regulations allow regular servicing during the event, but major components, engine, gearbox and axles, may not be changed once the event starts. Stamps and special paint marks will be checked again at the end of the rally. Renault team captain Albert Bassou. Mikola, winner of the East African Safari and the 16,000, is rated as the fastest rally driver in the business. How will he and his French co-driver Jean Todt tackle the event?
I don't know, main thought. It's just to think what's coming on, and of course you have to take it very easily first and see how it's going.
The main difficulty, I think, is to be at the finish, because it's such a long race that we have to drive very carefully.
At 3 o'clock, Henri Pharaon flags away 24 cars into Beirut's busy traffic. Mackinnon and Lytton in their Porsche. Mikkeler and Todd, Jensen Healy. Pio and Asfar, Renault. Georgiou and Sarnal, another Renault. The Audi of Senawi and Homsi. Hayat and Boss, Jensen Healy. Aslanyan and Shikhani, Datsun. From Italy, Meloni and Bergamazzo, Volvo. Bakir and Roberts, BMW. From Beirut, there is one special stage before they get to the border at dusk. As the route changes from red to black, the cars drive into darkness, onto Damascus Stadium, and then a 300-kilometre loop south to Sarkad, returning to Damascus at 2200 hours. Then out on the long night haul, 2 more special stages, shown with dotted lines, at Malula and Kariatain, on to Palmyra, arriving at 1:44 in the morning. Here a 3-hour halt to regroup and service the cars after the first gruelling 840-kilometre leg of the rally. Typical of the hairpinned mountain terrain on the outskirts of Beirut. Mackinnon leads the field into the first special stage on the way to the Syrian border. Pio's Renault. Georgiou. Hindi and Haj in their Renault. Mata's Porsche. Tabe in an Audi 80. Pajot and Hamdan in their Renaults. Baba Hikyan in the only Toyota. Another Tabe in another Audi. Zirka, hard pressed by another Audi. And Samir Bakir and Sean Roberts from Kuwait in a BMW. Hello, Sean. Syrian fans packed Damascus Stadium in their thousands, providing an enthusiastic welcome for the cars and drivers in their biggest motorsporting event of the year. But the first 200 kilometres of the route had taken a wicked toll, and only 8 cars clocked in at the Damascus control. Mackinnon was out, his steering ruined in a massive pothole. Mikkeler had been taken ill and retired. One of the Tabe Audis had slid off the road and ruined its petrol tank. Syrian Minister of Tourism, Abdullah Al-Khani, started them on their way, handing drivers their time cards. Pio leads off into the long night, looping south to Sarkad, and then over 2 fast desert stages to Palmyra, where there's a 3-hour halt. From Palmyra, with its ruined Arc de Triomphe dating back to the 1st century, the rally moves into its 2nd day. At 5 in the morning, the cars leave on a fast, dusty desert special stage to Deir el-Zor, where they arrive at sunup, and now in daylight across the Euphrates, north to Hasaka and Ras Al Ain, a special stage that runs along the Turkish border to Ain el Arab, across the Euphrates by ferry boat to Jarablus, to arrive after 9 hours and 800 kilometres of demanding driving at Aleppo at 14:45. Here's a late local entry, admittedly not fast, but no fear of mechanical failure. And another who obviously fiddled his way through scrutineering. From here the rally goes into the desert, where the driver's biggest enemies are the intense heat, the talcum-like dust, and his own fatigue, which can cause dangerous double vision. Over the Deir el-Zor stage, Hindi was really flying, with a time of 33 minutes 58 seconds to be absolute fastest. Hamdan next, 2 minutes behind. Just on the 3 previous special stages. The mechanics and the travelling service crews, with only limited time allotted for the purpose, work against the clock, checking the cars and preparing them for their day-long high-speed run up to the northernmost point of Syria's northern territory. No more service until Jarablus, 7 non-stop hours and 700 kilometres away. Makta in the Porsche, still going strong. Sawabini's Porsche, looking none the worse for wear. And Baba Hikyan's Toyota. But Paget's Renault has suffered 1 puncture too many. Without the assistance of the Syrian army and the officials of the Association Sportive Automobile Libanaise, the event would not be possible. Hundreds of observers and marshals are required, working 24 hours a day to look after the administration of a mammoth event like the Liban Syrie. Across the desert wastes, the faster cars can almost keep pace with the Syrian army helicopters, seconded to act as observers looking for breakdowns. Jarablus and the Euphrates ferryboat. This will be the last normal crossing before the rally traffic arrives, and the sheep will have to wait. Georgiou, last year's winner, fails to clock in. He is out in the desert with a broken final drive and out of the rally. Hindi, third fastest over the Ain El Arab stage to Jarablus, a minute and a half down on Pio, but still pushing hard and challenging for the overall lead. Hamdan arrives with a tale of well-meaning misdirection to a control by the local police.
لا بس هن الكنترول هو بقلب البلد بس مثل ما امبارح كانوا قاطعين طريق الناس واقفين بوليس 200 متر تروحوا لحتى البوليس لكم ترجعوا تروحوا.
At this point in the rally, there have been 5 special stages where times are measured down to the last second. The score is 4 to Pio and 1 to Hindi. Pio leads as the rally goes into Aleppo and the halfway point, but Hindi is close behind. While keen Renault mechanics refuel his car, Hindi is confident.
Very amusing.
The course?
Sorry?
What do you think of the course? It's about the course. Okay.
Ah, the course is very good. Yes.
No trouble with the car?
No, no.
It's going well.
Not with a good car.
Hindi on his way. Hamdan way on the final 160-kilometre sector into Aleppo. Rally leader Pio follows them. Georges Matta's Porsche limps into the control. Since Palmyra, he has been running with a jury-rigged hand-operated throttle. And if that wasn't enough to cope with, he smashed into a washaway and damaged his steering as well. Sehnaoui in his Audi, surviving and still in good shape. And the ever-present crowds. All along the route, wherever cars stopped, there were crowds young and old, eager to see the rally cars. Aleppo. And again the mechanics, with only minutes of permitted time, swoop on their cars to put right the damage caused by the rigours of the dawn-to-dusk run through the desert. The second half of the route demands less from the drivers, but the mechanical stresses and strains remain the same. Every mechanic is keen to make sure that his car will get to the finish. Prepared, checked, rechecked and washed down, the 8 survivors, after a 6-hour rest, are ready for the run which will take them out to the Mediterranean coast and back to Aleppo. The restart from Aleppo is at 20:45. North into the deserts and Afrin and Harim. South to Jizr al-Shaghul, with a special stage between Salmar and Slenfei, to Banias, inland to Masyaf and back to Jizr al-Shaghul. Then via Idlib to Aleppo, arriving at 3:30 in the morning, so completing the third leg. The 6 valiant survivors. Rally organiser Jean Basile.
Are you surprised that so few cars have got through, or would you have expected this?
Yes, I was expected.
Well, just this few cars.
Few cars.
Why is that?
Because, you know, the road was so maybe difficult, the deserts, and they have some troubles during when they're crossing the desert during the night. Most of the cars they stop there.
Rally leader Pio.
It is important to avoid the boulders and potholes. There are many of them. The other problem is the 3 people in front have cars of similar speed, so there's no question of taking it easy.
But not all drivers are as relaxed as Pio. Tempers fray from tension and lack of sleep. Sehnaoui argues a point with Basile.
You look as if you haven't had much sleep lately.
Well, since 3 days I'm not sleeping.
And now the dawn of the 3rd day and the start of the final run to Beirut. Hindi first away and making a bid for the lead. Pio, who had been fastest again over the night stage. Sehnaoui in his Audi. Hamdan, who'd run in the first 4 on the night stage. Paget's Renault and Matta's Porsche, still hand-throttled. The final 800-kilometre leg, starting at dawn in Aleppo, heads southeast into the desert and another special stage from Hagleh through Syrie to Syrie. On to the Lebanese border and the Homs-Jussier special stage. Then one last special stage on tarmac roads through the mountains to Beirut. Don't be deceived by the wide open spaces of the desert. Precision is needed, and the driver needs to be just as alert as on a hairpin mountain pass. The track dips, weaves and undulates through potholes and over boulders which can tear off a sun. Driving on these rough tracks hour after hour at rally speeds is a real test of skill and endurance. On this section, Pio has already gone through, and this was the drastic mistake that was to cost him the rally. Running well ahead of the field with a 13-minute lead, co-driver Asfar brought him into a control ahead of schedule and incurred penalties that dropped him into second place. In an effort to make up the time penalties, he left the road, damaging his suspension and engine mount. Israel on the final morning. Hamdan considers his exhaust pipe, reflects that the noise is unlikely to disturb the local inhabitants, and carries on. Paget and Smith, still determined and going strong. Anxious officials and the ever-present followers and fans of the Lebanese border control wait to see the outcome of the Pio-Hindi battle over the Hazieh and Jussier stages. Over the 1.5-hour Hazieh stage, Hindi was a full 5 minutes faster than Pio. But on the tricky Jussier stage, Pio tigered to beat Hindi by over a minute.
Yes, I have it.
Hamdan secure in third place. Senawi fourth in the Audi. The battle was well and truly on. There's one more special stage to go. Can Pio make up the time, or will Hindi and Haj be able to maintain their lead to the finish? Back in Beirut, with hours to go before the finish, crowds gather, lining the route into the city and outside the Phoenicia Hotel, anticipating the fight to the finish between the two Renault drivers. Dusk gives way to night, and Hindi puts all his local knowledge to good effect. On the last stage, he is fully 6 minutes faster than Pio. Hindi leads 5 finishers into a hero's welcome. But there was sympathy and acclaim, and of course champagne, for Pio, who had led for over 2/3 of the rally. Over the 9 special stages, 5.5 hours of relentless driving against the clock, Pio and Asfar were fastest on 6 of them, and only 24 seconds separated him from Hindi in the final reckoning. Hamdan was next in to make it a magnificent 1-2-3 for Renault. Then Senhawi and Homsi in the lone Audi. And Paget and Smith, to make the 4th Renault out of the 5 gallant survivors. A fitting end to the 3rd Liban Syrie. Hindi and Haj delighted and deserving winners. Boundless enthusiasm from the hundreds of thousands who had gathered to watch along the 3,000-kilometre route, and praise for the administration from Observer Le Gazette. Rothmans had put the Liban Syrie firmly on the World Rally map.